your research?
So my name is Amy Geis. I live in Spring Grove, grew up in the East Berlin, York Springs area. So I was in the Adams County area, researching a lot of different things, to be honest. Came upon things that were left, to some relatives that who have passed. So it's become, I guess I'm the one in the family that's taken up the torch, and I find it very interesting.
Thank you for coming today. Welcome. And this is our show and tell time, so we're getting a lot of different things today. Next up, I'm going to ask Richard Robinstein to go over the minutes from the last meeting.
Jonathan's there, opening the November 5th meeting here at the County History Center. Welcome those in attendance. We have two new attendees. Jonathan asked their names on what they were researching. I gave the minutes of the October 1st, 2023 program minutes. The program minutes were reviewed and approved by the board. Notes have been filed for future reference, both hard copy as well as on Google Drive. The October 2023 Treasury report was given by Margaret for beginning cash balance on September 30th, 2023 was $16,010.69. The cash balance at the end of October 31st was $16,884.55. Membership last month, membership stood at 134, an increase of one life membership to 20, one new family member for a 2-year placing our total of 10 family memberships, 10 new members for the year, and the special was ran through the website, allowing us to gain another 10 new membership or renewed for 2-year terms, 2 years. York County History Center Assistant Director of Library, Archives, and Events, spotlighting upcoming events and activities scheduled for the month going into December. Again, this session is being recorded, be seen on YouTube, Zoom, and Facebook. Or not, sorry. The file will be posted on YouTube, but being video through Zoom and Facebook today. President Stayer extended his thanks to those who helped staff at the table of Oktoberfest. State archives will now open in December instead of November. Watch the website for the official opening date. December 2nd will be the last day to do research at the center to allow the staff to prepare and move to the new facility. Jonathan advised that a new printer was being used to print and mail our special publications. He's looking for any feedback from members on the change that was made. Will save us money. Jonathan introduced the speaker. We happen to be our Vice President, Richard Kunkel. Richard Kunkel presented on the 1829 answer and defense of Catherine Ziegler of Cador's Township to accusations of witchcraft. Before this, for inclement weather, please check the website, Facebook, or call Richard or Jonathan. Richard Kunkel gave the list of upcoming events.
Thank you, Richard. You want to go ahead and do
I'm Richard Conkle. I'm the Vice President. I'm standing in today for Margaret Berg, who sent her treasurer's report for November and December, and it's very small on my cell phone, so please have some patience here. I think I can read it. So the treasurer's report for November and December 2023, the beginning balance on October 31st, 2023 of the BB&T Operating account was $16,884.55. In receipt, for receipts, there were no receipts for the month of November. In the month of December, there were membership renewals in the amount of $225 and publication sales in the amount of $245 for a total of receipts of $470. Disbursements for the month of November, Mass Talk, Press, and Bookstore had a print and mail special publication, 90. The cost of that was $832.72. For the month of December, there were disbursements of postal connections for $183.46, and the United States Postal Service for miscellaneous mailing fees of $17.10, for total disbursements of $1,033.28, with a net cash balance in the now Truist Bank operating account as of December 31st, 2023, of $16,321.27, respectively submitted Margaret L. Burr. And we also have a membership report. For the month of December, we have 148 members with 5 renewals made that month. 2 were for 2 years and 9 new members.
Thank you. Nicole, anything from the History Center?
Yes. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming this afternoon. My name is Nicole Smith. Just a couple announcements before we continue with the program. This program is being recorded, like all of our South Central programs, and will be available on the York County History Center's YouTube channel. The History Center museums and library are currently closed so we can prepare for moving. They're working on the new building as we speak. Look for us to open the new History Center at the Steam Plant in June of 2024. We will continue to hold programs like this one in the meeting hall here until the new building is open. We will also have 2 computer stations available in the meeting hall starting at 1 o'clock for anyone who wants to use Ancestry or newspapers.com before Genealogy Society meetings on Sundays. First Sunday of every month. Our second Saturday speaker on January 13th is Jim McClure. He'll be speaking about York County parks and York City parks. And our Civil War Roundtable speaker on January 17th is Ted Savas, speaking about the war outside my window, the Civil War diary of Leroy Wiley Gresham. So for more information on any of our programs, please visit yorkhistorycenter.org. Yes, Mike?
Is that Civil War one, isn't that online?
Yes, I apologize. Yeah, the Civil War Roundtable this month is on Zoom only and Facebook. All right, thank you very much.
Okay, I have a number of items I'd like to go over this afternoon. First of all, I'd like to thank Margaret and Tom for helping to clean up our files in preparation for moving our files from this building down to the new building. And I think everything's ready. We can just literally take the file folders out of the drawers now, put them in boxes and take them down there. So I'm grateful for them for that. We also, all of us, owe a big debt of gratitude to Richard Robinstein, who took the genealogy correspondence, interfiled in the family files here at History Center. So now people have access to that information. That's been sitting in our filing cabinet, probably some of them for what, close to a decade, I think. So thank you for that. As you heard, the PA State Archives is now open. I've done research there twice and it's a very impressive facility. I encourage you to go there. Parking is free, so don't have to worry about paying for parking anymore. If you've been paying attention to the news, you may have heard about the lawsuit that's involving the state archives. And let me just say this. First of all, I have some personal inside knowledge about what's going on. But some of what's being reported is not accurate. So don't believe everything you read in the newspaper or hear on the news. The question of the ownership of the state's records is not a problem. The state archives owns the historic records of the state. The whole question, this lawsuit, if you don't know, a professional, so-called professional meteorologist in New York is suing either Ancestry or the state archive, I forget which, is it the archives, to get free access to everything that Ancestry has scanned. And he's claiming that because they are government records or state records, they should be available free to the public. Well, the original records are available free to the public at the state archives in Harrisburg. And what really is at issue are the copies that Ancestry made. Mostly scanning that was done by Ancestry, and Ancestry is claiming, which I think they have a legitimate claim to do so, that because they scan the images, because they index them, that's their proprietary material. This guy's saying, well, it should all be available for free. He should get it because the state owns it, not Ancestry. The state owns the original records. The state does not necessarily own the copies. And that's the issue of question. I'm not sure whether this is a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, it would be great to have a lot of this stuff available free online. On the other hand, if Ancestry loses, I would be afraid they might want to pull back on what they're willing to do. And they have literally scanned, I forget the newspaper gave a figure. It's in the millions of images of state archives records. And there's no way the people of Pennsylvania could have ever afforded to have that amount scanned in the amount of time that Ancestry did it and have it indexed to the degree that Ancestry has done. So if Ancestry stops that, that means if you want a birth or death certificate, instead of looking at an Ancestry, you're gonna have to contact the state archives or go there. So I'm not sure how I want this lawsuit to turn out, but just be aware, there's more to it than what you read in the newspaper or you might see online. And what you do see in newspaper online is not necessarily particularly correct as to what the whole issue is. The whole issue is who owns these digital copies that were made. And this may apply to us because we transcribe and publish indexes to original records. That's what we're doing right now with our special publications. So if this guy wins, does that mean that our material has to be available? We won't be able to charge for our publications anymore. So I don't know, there's a lot tied up in it. And I just want you to be aware, be careful of what you hear on. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. Some of you may have heard of a project done by a volunteer here at the History Center. His name is Steve Beck. He is developing a map of all the cemeteries in York County. I think some of the officers have received the copies of his emails. If not, I have some of them at home I can send to you if you're interested. But basically, what he wants to do is have a page off of the History Center's page where you can go and look up any cemetery in York County, where its location, how many graves, pictures, and he is seeking help with this project. And there's 5 things he's asking for assistance with. One is to identify any cemeteries that might have been missed. If there are any that have been missed over the years, I don't know. It would have to probably be some very tiny small family cemetery that was never gotten by anybody. Secondly, he says he would like to include a photograph of every cemetery that's in this database, and I think right now he only has photographs. What did he say, about 40 or 50%, I believe, is what he's at. So if you know a family cemetery, you want to take a picture and provide to him, that'd be great. He also is looking for any interesting or unique narratives about either the people or the burial sites, and also kind of going along with that, history of the cemeteries. And if you're aware of somebody who has transcribed, say, the tombstones of a particular cemetery, they have a website somewhere, he'd like to link to that in this project. So the board's going to talk a little bit more about what we can do to support this. But if you as an individual want to do something, feel free to contact Mr. Beck, or Nicole can give you his contact information, or I can to participate in that. As Nicole mentioned, the York County History Center Library will be moving probably the end of February, beginning of March. And my plan as president is that our society will be as helpful as we can to Nicole in doing that. So if you're interested in helping, if they need our help, let me know or let Nicole know. We're not quite sure, Nicole's not quite sure how it's all gonna work out, how best to use our people, but we do want to be helpful, and so if you'd like to participate in that, let us know. And finally, the last Saturday in March, which is March 23rd, our organization, South Central Pennsylvania Genealogical Site and the York County History Center are going to partner on a genealogy workshop, which I have comically titled Bunny Slipper Genealogy. Basically, things you can do in your bunny slippers at home, as my former friend Jerry Ellis used to say. There'll be three sessions. One's going to be on using online deeds and those types of records led by Lynn Nelson, and then our Vice President Richard Kunkel is going to be talking about probate records, wills, and so forth. Hopefully, talk a little bit about where they can be found online. And then Lynn's going to finish the morning with a session which she did for us a number of years ago on tips and tricks for using the census. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
I've been title it.
Yeah. Okay. I know that. I didn't write the titles down here. So, clear and clever census hacks. There we go. Cool and clever census hacks. That's what it is. So well, two things. If you want to attend that program, you're welcome to do so. Also, we are looking for some help in addition to the speakers to help with people who might want to attend the program and also help to sell our publications.
That's a fee.
Yes, the fee for the program, the seminar, if you're going to attend as an attendee, is $10 for members of our organization or the History Center. It'll be $20 if you're not a member of either organization. It'll be held in this room, and it'll basically be all looking at how to use resources online, which you can then go home and do from your home.
Jonathan,
Yes,
is that, you said the 23rd, but you also said the last Saturday in,
oh, that's right. It's not the last, it's the fourth. Well, it's May, March 23rd. I thought it was the last Saturday. I might be wrong.
I think there's probably one more at.
Yeah, because March would have, yeah.
And,
Thank you.
but it is 23rd.
Yes, it's March 23rd.
And what time frame?
The program will start at 9. Registration will start at about 20 of 9. It'll run till 12:30 with 2 breaks in there.
And to sign up for it, we do what?
Hopefully, what's that?
It'll be on the History Center.
Yeah, it should be on the History Center's web page within the next week or two.
Yeah. I'll put it on the.
It'll be in the newsletter, should be on our website as well. But the registration is being handled by the History Center, so they would be the best place to check.
Thank you.
Or you can see one of us. Any other news before, yes,
Just wondered if you could mention the February program.
the February, Richard.
It's Richard, okay.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. It's just gonna be interesting.
Okay. All right, if nobody else has any news, I'm going to have Richard come and tell us about future programs and lead the rest of the meeting.
I'll give you a list of the rest of the programs we have for this spring, this year. For Sunday, February the 4th, in this room at 2:30, we will have Samantha Dorn speaking on tracking the migration of Black families. And Samantha's been very active with the historic Lebanon Cemetery in North York, which is the African American cemetery. And through her research, she's found various places where African American families migrations that were made voluntarily after slavery and some of them involuntarily before slavery ended. Our March presentation, which usually when you don't have the leap year, it would be the 4th and the 4th. This is a leap year, so it's March 3rd. And the title is How to Find a Needle in a Haystack Without Ever Looking. It's by Lisa Wolfson of the Spring Grove area. She's a retired school teacher. And it concerns the Welcome Society, which is the early Quakers that came over with William Penn in around 1683. Our April meeting, which is, we don't have the title yet, but it will be Aaron McWilliams from the Pennsylvania State Archives. It very well may be some information about the new archives, which Jonathan just talked about, which just opened last month. Our May meeting is off-site, and that will be, it's May the 7th. No, May the 5th. May the 5th, Cinco de Mayo. We don't have a Spanish or Mexican theme to it, though. But we're going to historic Conewago Chapel. It's the chapel or the Basilica of the Sacred Heart in Irishtown and close to McSherrystown. It's sort of between McSherrystown and New Oxford in Adams County. If you've never been there, the building dates from 1785. It was a mission from the Jesuits and basically it was much of the history of the Catholic population in that area of York and Adams County originates from there. They've done massive restoration work recently, discovered frescoes on the walls they didn't know were there. It always had the frescoes on the ceiling. They also discovered an Italian marble altar that was in a barn on the property, and that has been restored. It is a minor basilica of Roman Catholic Church. It has a papal umbrella in one corner and has beautiful stained glass windows, Munich glass from late 19th century, I would say. But if you've never been to Europe to visit Catholic churches and so forth, this is like that. Okay, so it's worth the visit just to see the beautiful art in the church and also to hear some of the history. The time is slightly different. It is 2 o'clock on that Sunday, May the 5th. And our June, which is the second Sunday in June, June the 9th, will be a Henry James Young Award presentation. I am always open to suggestions for other programming. So we'll stay here until the new facility is open, and then we will be at the new facility. Of course, sometimes we're off-site as well. But the new facility will be down at the corner of Philadelphia and Pershing Avenue. Yes.
Are you done with your list? I just want to add to the Conewago Chapel. Probably many of you know that the John Tim and Riley Society used to be
Connected with that congregation.
And I don't think it's been announced here, but that has this band.
And actually, the York County History Center is the recipient of quite a few of their records,
That's
as well as some other places. So a lot of the John Timmons Riley Society records are actually here now.
And they are also at Hanover Historical Society. They
Yes.
have a good amount there.
They've gone several different places.
Yes, I just wanted to point that out, since some people might not.
So our presentation today is basically a show and tell. Last year I gave a presentation about mincemeat pie and I baked pie, and this year, of course, made mincemeat again, and I have all this mincemeat. So there's a pie over there. If any of you wish to have a piece of mincemeat pie when we're finished, you're perfectly welcome to do so. So, and it does have beef in it. I'm not going to go through all with, well, it's not that many things. It's sweet cider, hard cider, apples, raisins, currants, and beef and spices. There's no lard, it's all butter. I don't do lard.
Wow, it's not gluten free though.
It's not gluten free, it's flour. So whoever wants to be the first person, you're welcome to come up and give their presentation. We have. Well. Okay.
Go ahead. Yeah.
My name is Bob Zimmerman. I'm not a member, but I'd like to join. I'm going to join. And I was looking, on the internet, and I saw where you were welcoming people to come in and talk, and I had to get out of the house. So, I got a little story here to tell you, see if you're interested in. I was going through some papers, about 6 years ago, and I found a newspaper article. And it's from 1925, and it's from Littlestown. And it's about my great-great-grandmother. Excuse me, now I'm gonna read the articles, bear with me, when we get down to the 3/4 of it, you'll understand why I'm here. Okay, active at old age. Mrs. Olivia Kraus celebrated 95th birthday anniversary. Mrs. Olivia Kraus celebrated the 95th anniversary of her birth at her home on East King Street on Monday. A number of friends called to congratulate her on her natal day, and she received many greetings from relatives and friends who could not call at her home. A dinner was given Sunday in her honor with her pastor, the Reverend Paul Barrett of the Methodist Episcopal Church, as a guest. Her daughters, the Mrs. Lizzie and Ida Kraus, and son J. Emmer Kraus were present. While she injured her hip several years ago, and since that time has been able to walk, she enjoys good health for one of her age. She also enjoys reading the daily papers and delights telling others the general topics of the day. This non-adjourned, do you know what that is?
Yes.
Somebody that's 90 years old. Has a good memory and recalls things that happened many years ago as vividly as though they had happened last week. Mrs. Kraus recalls vividly of going to Gettysburg on November 19th, 1863, when President Lincoln made his famous address at the consecration of the National Cemetery. The address impressed her greatly, and the prayer that was made previous to the address still lingers in her memory. A lifelong member of the Methodist Church and a faithful attendant upon its services during the many years was able to be about. Mrs. Kraus still enjoys the services of the church and is glad when she's able to be taken care of. So, my great-great-grandmother was at the Gettysburg Address. Very cool. Thank you. Thank you. When I was reading this article, you know, I'm a Lincoln fan, I'm a Civil War fan, and when I was reading this, literally, the hair on my neck stood up. I mean, that's pretty cool. To me, it is.
I think November 19th was the 160th.
She was 25 years old.
Yeah, well, I think it was this year though, last year was the 160th anniversary.
Oh, the Gettysburg Address. She was 25 at the time, and her husband was in, my great-great-grandfather was in the Union Army too. And my daughter, my sister is a member of the DAR. So we go back. Yeah. Yes, sir.
And your brother is Jim, right? Pardon? You have a brother Jim, correct? You have a brother Jim, correct?
That is correct.
I'm
It's been moving Joel.
a friend of his.
Sorry?
So I'm glad to hear Jim is also related.
It's correct. Thank you. Thank you.
Sure. Now, is there a little?
Yes.
This is I may have to scroll this for you.
Oh, okay. When I was a little girl, I learned that my great-great-grandfather was John Weinmeier. Can I stand in the mic?
Yeah.
Of course. I learned that my great-great-grandfather was John Weinmeier. And one thing that I heard over and over again was that he was 102 years old when he died. That's pretty thrilling to know that. It was like a badge that people would wear, you know, my anyway, my grandfather said that, my mother said that. Well, then when I started doing some research, I came across some interesting things. So And you can. So here's a photograph of Caroline Engelbrecht Blymeyer, of John Blymeyer, and their son Emmanuel Blymeyer. And I guess I might as well throw it out there right now that this Emmanuel Blymeyer was the father of John Henry Blymeyer, the Hex murderer. So John was in the Civil War from about, I'm just say this off the top of my head, about October 1862 to July 1863. So I think this was probably, this photograph was taken in the early 1880s maybe. Oh, thank you, Jason. Yes.
Which one did you say was the hex involved in the Braymire, the old one or the kid?
It was the grandson of John Blymeyer.
Oh, then the kid's not born yet, then that picture.
Exactly, yeah. So my grandfather, John William Ritz, was the first cousin of the Hex murderer. I knew nothing about this until after my mother died and I started doing research. Okay, oh, unfortunately, I wasn't sure how this would come across, so I'm gonna have to read this to you. So John Blymeyer died in 1932. He's buried in the Potosi Cemetery. And on his gravestone, you'll see that it says John Blymeyer, 1829 to 1932. So this article, I'll read the first part of it because that's the most important. So, county's oldest resident dies. Death claims John Blymeyer near Tolna in his 103rd year. And then, of course, they have to add the subtitle, Hex Murder Recall. Said to be York County's oldest resident, John Blymeyer, retired farmer, died at 6 a.m. yesterday at the home of his son, Samuel Blymeyer, New Freedom, RD1, near Tolna, in his 103rd year. Death was caused by complications of disease and infirmities of advanced age. Mr. Blymeyer was a resident of the vicinity all his life and for many years engaged in farming. He was a Civil War veteran, serving as private in the 87th Regiment, Pennsylvania Volunteers. His company took part in the Battle of the Wilderness, Cedar Creek, Petersburg, and several other minor battles. Mr. Blymeyer was never wounded, although he was under gunfire in all these battles. For his advanced years, Mr. Blymeyer was in remarkable physical condition. Until his condition became greatly weakened several months ago, he had been able to read the newspapers without using glasses. He had been failing in health for the past 2 years, but not seriously so until last fall. He made his home with his son Samuel for the past 20 years. And then, of course, they have to go. The death of this centenarian recalls the famous witchcraft murder, which occurred in the county November 28, 1928. The deceased man was the grandfather of John Blymeyer, witch doctor, who was serving a term of life imprisonment in Eastern Penitentiary for his part in the murder of Nelson Raymond. You know, sometimes we think that what we read in the newspaper is the truth. Well, I'm here to tell you, not so fast. Yeah, the next one we can go to. Okay, so here, this photograph was taken by Dennis Grant and is on Finding Grave. So this is his gravestone in Potosi, and you can see first of all the date that he was reportedly born, and then underneath that it's Private Company I, the 166th Regiment. So it wasn't the 87th. So here's his, death certificate. And if you look, here it says August the 10th, 1829, that he was born. But if you look at the 29, it looks like it's been toyed with. I suspect that it's 39, but we'll come up with some more proof. Okay, the next one. So here we have, I have not been able to find the 1850 or 1860 census record for portions of this family, and that includes John. So I can't find it for Daniel, his father. So I keep looking, going to the census records and paging through, but not yet. But anyway, the 1870s there, and at that time, he is 30 years old. Next one, please. The 1880 census, he's 45 years old. I should describe a little bit about the Blindmeyer family. My mom always said they were dirt poor, and they were. They lived in Winterstown, in the area that is now Spring Valley Park. And if you drive through there and you see some of the terrain, I don't think it's changed much. And they were basket makers. None of them, my great-grandmother, John Blindmeyer, Daniel Blindmeyer, all of them were illiterate. Not able to read the newspaper. Okay, the next one. So of course, there's no 1890 census. In 1900, he's 55 years old. A little difference of 20 years there, but. Okay, the next. So, as far as I knew, he was 102 years old. And then I was fortunate to be able to take a trip with Becky Einstein and June Lloyd and David Brand to the National Archives to look for pension records. And Lloyd and I learned a lot there. And I'll pass some of these around the pension records then so that you can take a look at them. They're very, very interesting. If you have relatives that were in the Civil War and you haven't gotten to retrieve their pension records, I really suggest that it would be a good idea because you can learn so much. So here we see that, I don't know if you're able to see that from where you are, but one of the top lines, number 1, when were you born? And there it says September the 6th, 1839. So that's 10 years later than what we thought it was. Oh, thank you. And he was discharged July the 28th, 1863. Okay, the next one.
Why would he change his birthday?
We'll get there.
Oh, sorry.
Well, first of all, he mentions some places in the census, in the pension records, that he really didn't know what month he was born. And you'll see that things change as the years go by. Okay, so here's the 1910 census. He's 62 years old. And he starts living with his children. So this one, he's living with Emmanuel Blindmeyer. Okay, so the 1920, so we just looked at 1910. Was the census, and now we're at the 1912, and on that census it says that he was born in 1839, and he's 73 years old. Okay, next one. Now, it gets interesting here. So what, he was 73? 70 stars. Well, the 1920 census, he's 86 years old. It's not starting to add up. And the 18, no, wait a minute. I should have, can you back up a minute? 20. And then. Yeah, then go forward. Okay, so now he's 97. Okay, this is a little out of order. So then in the 1926 application. Yeah, 1926. He's 87 and was born in December of 1839. And then this was the final notification that he had died. And he was making $100 a month, which is I thought was really extraordinary. Okay, so it shows that he had died back February of 1932. And one more, and there he is as an old man. I have some really poor Xerox copies of him out picking herbs and stuff, so he was, that whole medicinal thing, he was into. And I think that's it. Yeah, okay. So, what's going on here? I have a theory that, that article in the newspaper was a way of trying to rehabilitate the family. That, because that was a big deal. I don't know how much you've read about the Hex murder, but that went international. No one in my family ever told me, not my grandfather, not my Uncle Sam, who's mentioned in the transcripts of the trial. So no one talked about it in the family, but the community at large certainly knew a lot about it. That maybe it was a way of doing that. Or did somebody just sort of lose track of how old they were, because he didn't have a birth certificate. He did have a sister who was born in 1829, the same year. And there is one of the printed German certificates that showed when she was baptized. But just intriguing. And keep looking for more information, but it's not looking good for 103. Okay, thank you very much. Oh, I guess I should mention too, in here, he's listed as 22 years old when he went into.
All right.
Oh, it's gone.
As some of you may know, my family has crossed the United States in the 20th century. We started in Pennsylvania, went to California, came back to Pennsylvania. And I found out this past summer that the bell that stood outside of the house that my family constructed in Bedford County had the same journey. And I thought this was kind of interesting. In about 1830, my fourth great grandfather, Adam Stair, often now known as Adam Stair Sr., because he had a son by that named Adam Stair, built a stone house, which you'll see a picture of in a second, in the southern part of South Woodbury Township, Bedford County. It's been known in the family as the Stair House, although it hasn't been in the Stair family for about 100 years. However, every time we've had reunions or people come back to Pennsylvania, they go out there to see the quote, the Stair House. The house was constructed by the Adams Stair, who was the father of the Adams Stair Jr. that you see on this chart. This is a chart I prepared for the current owner, who is Kimberly Mountain at the bottom right-hand side there. This was using the organizational charts on Word, which I do not recommend using for genealogy purposes. You can see it doesn't work really well, but it does highlight a couple of people that you're gonna be hearing about. Adam Stair Jr., who's the son of the builder of the house, married Sarah Brawlier, and her sister was Martha Brawlier, and it's the Brawlier connection that relates me to the current owner of the house. And on the left-hand side, you can see my family line. Adam's son was David Brawlier Stair, and Edward Hartman Stair, Arthur Vernon Stair, my dad, George Edward Stair, and then my brother and I put the two of us down there because we were the two that went out to see Kimberly Mountain, and her family was on the other side. Her it's through the Brawlier family that we're related. I just put that up there. Couple things to point out. You see it says Catherine Brawlier Stair. She is the sister of my great-great-grandfather, David Brawlier Stair. She'll be mentioned in the letter I'm about to read as Aunt Kate. She married Calvin Detweiler. They could have no children, and in 1884, her 2-year-old cousin, Sarah Brawlier Klaus, came to live with her when Sarah's mother died out in Iowa. And it's been confusing because some people in the family call Sarah the daughter of Catherine. She's not really the daughter, she's the cousin. In fact, I thought that there was a different relationship, but doing this family tree, I figured out that they were cousins. The house, the squares you see in the brighter yellow are the owners of the house. Adam died young. He's the one who was the symbol of confidence objector. His brother then married Adam's widow, and John and Sarah lived in the house until they died, and then the house passed to Calvin and Kate Detweiler until they died, and then it went over to Sarah Brawlier Klaus and Charles Detweiler until they died, and then it passed to their daughter, Oma Detweiler, who married Mr. Mountain. And I met Mrs. Oma Mountain when she was a very old lady when I first started researching the house. On the left-hand side, you've probably seen this picture before. I've shown this a couple times here, is a picture of my Stair antecedents. The first Christmas they were out in California, no, first Christmas. This was my dad was born. This is Christmas Day of 1928, after my dad was born. But the David Brawlier Stair you see mentioned on the right-hand side is the old man here. His son Edward. Those two were born in Bedford County, and David was probably the last one to actually live in the Stair house. After he got married, he moved to another house in Middle Woodbury Township, and his mother and stepfather remained in the home. It's interesting, I should have put a copy of this deed in, but as Adam Stair Jr. died without a will, and so went through Orphans Court. And they waited until Adam's children were minors when he died, so they waited until they reached their majority to start settling the estate, and eventually David Brawlier Stair got the estate. However, John and Sarah were the occupants of the house. So David and his wife ended up selling the house to John and Sarah, and then when they sold it to Catherine and Calvin Detweiler, they had provisions for themselves, and it tells you exactly in which room of the house John Stair was going to live, how much of various products he was supposed to get off of the farm, where he could keep his horse, and so forth. It was quite the interesting deed. This is all in that one deed, but I want to focus on the house in a second. So this summer, my brother and I, Tom and I, went out to visit Kimberly Mountain. She was so generous. In fact, she keeps on bugging me, when are you going to come out again? When are you going to bring the family and so forth? And in the process, I took all my files on the house, and in 1927, my great-grandfather, Edward Hartman Stair, and his wife came to Pennsylvania to visit all the whole family places. And his wife is, I think she's the one in the white dress in this picture. Well, I showed Kimberly this picture, and she noticed the bell on the left-hand side. She said, "Whatever happened to the bell?" Well, I knew what had happened to it, but I didn't know what, but she wanted to know if she could get it back. Because they're in the process of, they really fixed the house up. It looks a little different, but it is very nice with what they have done to the house. This is what the house looks like, and probably what it looked like pretty much when it was built. Now, I have several other pictures from 1927, where you can see the bell standing there by the house.
Who owns the house now?
Kimberly Mountain and her husband own the house.
Is that family now?
Well, as I showed in that chart, she's related to me through the Brawlier family. So I guess we're looking to call the Brawlier house, but we still call it Stair House. And I begged her forgiveness, but she has never said I can't call it Stair House, so I'm still calling it the Stair House. And here's a more panoramic view of the farm with a picture of the bell. One day a postcard showing the barn. I think this is later than 1927 because there are more structures on this image than you see on the previous ones. Interestingly enough, in the 1860 census, when Adam Stair Jr. was living in the house, he had a tenant farmer on the property, and I suspect that the tenant farmer lived in one of those structures that's beside the house. And Adam Stair died in 1866, 44 years of age, very sickly, and I think that the tenant farmer was the one who was actually working the farm. He was just there living. This is what the house looked like in 1982 when I started first doing research. Now they've added like a wraparound porch on the house and really fixed it up. They got rid of all the junk on the back porch. Actually, what looks like to be the back porch was the front facing side of the house, which I had forgotten about. But you can see here, this is what was considered the front of the house until I think Kim said it wasn't until the 1960s or 70s when they actually brought the driveway from the other side to make that the front of the house. So now you approach the house from this side. So what happened to this bell? Well, in 1984, I was in communication with one of David B. Stair's granddaughters, and she said, this is the story. Told to me by our cousin Amelia Cecil Morrison, whose grandmother Amelia Holsinger was a sister to David B. Stair. In Amelia's words, the original Stair home going back many generations is up in Morse Cove, it's actually Morgan's Cove, out from New Enterprise. I've been there a number of times, the last in 1965. Aunt Kate Detweiler's, that's the Catherine Detweiler I'm talking about, Aunt Kate Detweiler's daughter was still living on the place, and the original bell was there. Her daughter was this Sarah or Sadie Detweiler. Cousin Sadie told Oma, her daughter, to sell me the bell, hoping I would keep it within the Stair family. So I climbed up on the roof, took it from the frameworks, and the frameworks with it. Now, it was not on the roof of the house, it was on that post beside the house. To me, it meant so much because of the stories, I love this, of the bell and what it meant to the families in the valley. As this house was the last one in the cove, and above them was mountains. Every once in a while, the Indians would get on the warpath for food. Then the bell would ring, and its clear tone would be carried in the fields, and families below, so they would all go inside for safety. Now, trust me, there were no Native Americans in that area in 1830, probably not even in 1800. So I love these family stories that just come out of nowhere. Now, it was forged by a blacksmith shop man there. No date, name, or identification of any kind. What a shame. Tim continued, when we made our trip to PA, I had decided that we would go home with the bell, as Amelia said she would sell it for what she paid for it. I offered to buy it. No, she said, your name is not Stair anymore. Well, here is my brother Leonard A. Stair. He has one son, 4 grandsons, and 5 great-grandsons. The bell should remain in the Stair family for many years. The bell is now at my brother's home in Redding, California. Her brother was Leonard Stair. So that's where it was in 1984. I recently took a picture of Chronocolor, so when I get the rollout of my camera, I will send you a copy. And Ollie Hibbert did send me a copy of the picture, and here is the bell, hanging in Redding, California. I want you to take a close look at this bell. I tried to get as close as I could and get the whole thing in. But this is not forged by a blacksmith. I'm pretty sure this bell was cast, and most bells were cast at that time. I mean, that was a very common product of iron furnaces in Pennsylvania, one would be cast bells. I asked the current owner of it if he could check it and see if he saw any, blacksmith work, but he didn't respond to me, but in fact, when I pull up these pictures, there's no evidence that it was forged by hand, it was like he has it done. So another kind of fiction. So where is the Stair House bell today? Well, you remember it said that Leonard Stair had one son. And Kim Mountain said, could you please try to find out where the bell is? So I went online and I found Leonard Stair's obituary. Sure enough, he died. He left one son. I checked for his son, and his son's obituary came up online. And his son, Leonard Stair's son, had 4 children. The oldest of whom was a Patrick Stair, somewhere at, well, I think it was in, what is this? I want to say San Ysidro or someplace like that, California. So I started Googling Patrick Stair and trying to get all this together, and lo and behold, I stumbled upon this website, Stairs Quality Queens. Stairs Quality Queen Bees out in California, and there it is, Pat Stair and his wife renamed this company Stairs Quality Queens. So I sometimes I do strange things my wife doesn't like, and that's called people up on the phone out of the blue. And I thought, if I call this guy up on the phone, he's gonna think I'm a total lunatic. So I thought, well, if I call the business, it'll probably go to an answering machine, and they can look at it and they can say, yeah, you know, it's a legitimate number and so forth. So, and it was a Saturday when I discovered this. I thought, I'll call on Saturday, they'll be closed, and nobody will have to worry about crazy not calling them. So on a Saturday, I called Stairs Quality Queens, and sure enough, I got the answering machine. And Pat's is retired now. His son and daughter-in-law have the business. So I said, you know, my name's Jonathan Stair. I know, I'm looking for Pat Stair. I know he's the son of so-and-so, the grandson of Leonard Stair. And I'm trying to locate a family house bell that was in the family. Sure enough, Monday or Tuesday morning, no, it was actually Sunday, I did that Saturday, but Pat called me Sunday after I got home from church and said, oh yeah, I have the bell. I know exactly where it's at. It's hanging on my back porch. And then I said, well, could you please send me a picture? And so he sent me 10 pictures of the bell hanging in his house in Palo Cedro, California. And he has, I think Patrick has, I think he has 3 children and several grandsons. So most likely, if the bell stays in the Stair family name, it'll probably go to one of them. Although I told him, I said the owner of the Stair house would love to have this back for their property. But there's one picture he sent me, and then a picture of looking up at the bell. So that's how the bell got from Bedford County, Pennsylvania, out to San Ysidro or Palo Cedro, California.
In that one picture, it looked like it was cracked.
Well, it might have been that they thought it was.
I think there was a leak in front of it.
Well, you need this picture here, right up there. I don't think so, although,
Go back a couple, right there.
at the top on the right-hand side there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just a mark. When I blew it up, it didn't appear to be cracked to me. And that'd be unusual. Normally bells are gonna crack more down at the lower rim there, so. Yes, Mike.
Do you know, about how old it is? Didn't you say that?
I don't know. Judging from this, I would say it's probably not as old as the house. I would think it's probably later in the 19th century when it was added to the property. And if you're familiar with farms, many farms had a bell in the past because that's how they, you heard the term dinner bell. That's how they let people out in the field know there was time to come in for a meal.
That was gonna be my next question.
Yeah.
Do you think it was used for that?
Yeah, probably.
For the farmer?
Or, you know, if they needed to notify somebody about something, they'd ring the bell and they'd come into the house. So I just had so much fun with that. I thought that's something I would share with you folks today. So thank you. Is Tom here? You ready to do yours?
Okay. Right, somebody knows how to put that up for me. And do you have a remote for?
It's right there.
Oh, okay, good, thank you. My talk is going to be on this building. That when we first started meeting, we were meeting at York College, and we've been here, I think, about 40 years now. So can any of you verify that? How long we've been meeting at the History Center? Close to 50, okay. I know it was a long time. So, let's see which. What do I hit?
The down is, the down button is advanced, and the top one is go back.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So I gave this talk last April, and this was about what this building was. It was a car dealership. J.W. Ridgely, he'd like to be called J.W. and his workers would go, yes, sir, J.W. Yep, right away, J.W., we're on that. After the dealership closed, he donated the land and the original building. And this plaque sits on the wall. Uh-oh. There we go. Right over in the next room. Now, if you look up here, you can see the stairs. Let's see if I can do this for you. Right here, there are the stairs going up. I don't know if you're a plan on it. Oh, yeah, look at that. Right there are the stairs going up. There are also two bathrooms up on the top. And those bathrooms up there have the original fixtures from back when it was a car dealership. And if you get a chance when we finish here, go on up and check them out and see. These beams that are right here, these have been covered over. This one's right there is back where the elevator is. This one has 3 fake beams. When you walk in, there's a nice entranceway going back to the back room. 3 of those pillars are fakes. See if you can figure out which one is the real one when you go back. This was the front of the building. Here's an entranceway that used to go back with a ramp that went upstairs where they did all of the repair of the automobiles. Right here, this part, this is where the ramp stopped. This is the ceiling in the back room. This is the library right over here. And here's a smaller pillar, which is kind of interesting what happened there. Dennis Kumpel is showing where JW actually used boards and plywood to pour the concrete. This is one of the few original pillars. Now, all of you that have been back in the library have walked past this pillar many times. This is the library desk right here. And that pillar was never covered over, and it's still back there. It's an original from when this was an automobile sales. This is a steam valve down in the basement. This building bought steam from the York Steam Company, which is where we are moving to. The new building is the building that supplied steam for all of the city, including this building. Public steam was about half the cost of putting in a furnace and building your, putting in your own steam plant. You had to buy the coal, you had to maintain the furnace. You could buy public steam from the steam company for a fraction of the price, just like we buy water, gas, or electric today. So that valve's still there. Took that picture. Here is another picture of the showroom. If you'll notice in the back extension hadn't been built yet. There are the stairs right here. That's the kind of hidden pillar right there. Here's the one up in the front. And you can see all the automobiles. He originally sold Fords. Ford had very little overhead, so he did not make much money for every Ford he sold. As soon as the contract ran out, he switched and started selling Chevys because he could get twice the money for every Chevy that he sold as opposed to the Fords. Another picture of the showroom, and you can see outside, there's some trees in the background and everything there. That's before they put on the back room. He had to do his repair right there on the main showroom. Here it is today. And you can see right there, that's that real pillar. And then here's the one right on the entranceway, and that's the one in the middle of the room. Check out the bathrooms up at the top. Here's where you would drive in up the ramp right on the front of the building. This old facade is still there, we just put these bricks up to kind of cover it and a false one. This is the process of converting it into the museum. You can see the casings going around. This is upstairs after you went up the top of the ramp. And you can see the cars on either side. It was a little tight getting them in and out, but that's where they did the repair or put the cars together after they were shipped. I would like to know if those murals are still down there. This is right on the other side of this wall, right here. Are all those murals still behind the plywood, the false walls that have been put up? You can see those there. It would really be neat if they were. This is him doing the construction. During the construction of the building, the architect and the contractor made all sorts of mistakes. The beams were too short. The cost overruns were terrible. What do you think? A penny pincher like J.W. Richley did when he's getting all of these overruns and costs. What did he do? He fired the contractor. He fired the architect and said, I'm going to do it myself. And he did. He made every effort to do everything he could without getting somebody else. This right here, whoops, back here, this right here, this is where he mixed his concrete and sent these little carts into the building to pour the concrete for the beams. Again, the mixer, this was a home, that home right here is where we are right now. This was right next to the building. They bought that home and then built this hall right here. So, on the far side of the building, these window sills still exist from the original building. This is the back of the building. You can see the supports that he had for the beams that went up, and you can still see the inside of these where his beams would hang. How many of you know that the alleyway in the back is Mason Avenue? Yeah, a couple of you do. There's a very good reason why, and J.W. Richley fits in to Mason Avenue. This, back in the 1800s, this was the original Masonic Hall. When the Masons moved out, the Oddfellows moved in, and some of you might even remember Oddfellow Hall, which was up here. They renamed it Washington Hall a number of years later. You remember that. This is the original Masonic chapel right here. It's still there, over on North Beaver Street. He would walk down Mason Avenue, past the Masonic Hall, past the new Masonic Hall, to the one they were using, which was the old post office building, and an absolute gorgeous building. Right next to it is the Knights Templar temple, and that was attached to the building. And the Knights Templar met in there up until they built a new building up in North York. All of the hardware of the building, it all still exists. These crosses up here on the top, where do you see what they look like when the sun comes in from the outside? They're gorgeous. The sun comes in, it's just this beautiful ruby red. Notice the key lock on the front door right here. See the Knights Templar symbols and everything on the key lock? That's all still there, right on the front of the building. You can see it. This is the inside. Right there, facing east. The principal asylum of the Masonic Temple. This is where they met. Oh, I don't know why that one came out like that, but it did. He would put on his Knights Templar uniform and he would walk down. He was a very active Templar Knight. And this is how he would do it right here. He would go out the back of his building after he put on Templar uniform here like this. Walk out the back of the building, meet with other Templar Knights, and walk down and go into their meetings. And I thank you all very much. And now you know a little bit more about this building. Thank you. But
This used to be an Eleanor Smith dealership at one time?
He shared, when he started running low on money, he let other dealers come in and work with him. And yes, that was it. Yep, go ahead.
So what's the plans when they move out?
I should probably let someone with a little more insight into it. If we're going to use it a while for storage, but let's go ahead.
Sure, sure. Yes, unfortunately, we are planning to sell this building, so not quite sure what it will be used for in the future. Hopefully, yeah, probably offices, maybe we'll get lucky and it could be like an art museum or something like that, but it all depends. No, prospective buyers at the moment.
So you plan on selling?
Yes.
Way back there was a Mennonite cemetery here, correct?
I don't know the whole history of that.
Shows on maps.
Was it here or was it more towards the corner of the block?
Under here, well, I did hear that there was a cemetery here and
There was a small cemetery behind the house that was here. Is that,
Well, I think it was right here. I
On
mean,
this-
well, probably the other side.
okay, but in the back of the building?
I think it was right up.
Show
on
the
Market
picture of the house again.
Okay, I don't know if I can do that. Will this go backwards?
Yeah, just click the up arrow.
Let's try that.
There you go.
Oh, I went right back to the beginning. All right, I had to start that.
Found it.
Okay, thank you. Actually, maybe you can get down and right to the picture and just click on it. Or the left side, I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. So that house was demolished,
Yes, that house sits
sat right here.
right here where we are right now, yes.
Wow.
Yep, the, right here, the side, this wall right here would be just out of this picture right here. And actually, I don't know if you can see it there, I think that's the back of the building here. And where this fence is here, that might be the backyard of this building. See right back in there?
And you think the cemetery was right there where that fence was?
I think, I'm not sure. All I know is it was a very small one,
Mennonite.
yeah.
I don't know
And,
how big or
and it
small.
was a family cemetery, right?
No, it was Mennonite.
Oh, for all York Mennonites. Cool.
Hopefully we have a record of it.
No, it's long gone.
No record?
Well, who's ever doing that cemetery thing, if you can, remember, we've talked about my ancestors that were out, and there's a family cemetery for the Rubles. And apparently the cemetery doesn't exist, but it would be nice to mark where that cemetery was out in North Cadorus Township. Yes, sir.
I'm curious about, doing any research of Sonic York records. Can you?
Sonic
is there any
records
way
in York.
Oh.
To observe?
I can tell you, the Masons have a lot of records on their own. They keep them all out of the Masonic Lodge. They go all the way back to the I think it's 1732 in Philadelphia, when Benjamin Franklin and George Washington and all those started it. The original lodge in Philadelphia still exists. They typically do not share those records.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just interested in your records.
This building, the History Center, does have some Masonic records back in the library. Only the public records. Is that what you're interested in, or?
I just was curious if there's any way to do that. That's
Yes,
all.
you can go back into the library here and view
But
some of the Masonic
your
records.
Sonic records, if they, up there, they don't.
Yeah,
allow anybody to research.
they won't show you members. There's a lot of information. We do have public history when the Masons go out and do events. And that's what information we have back in our library. Yes. That's it. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it. I think I went over my time. I apologize. But it's still 1:15, so
Did you give a lecture about this before a few years ago, did you?
yes,
And I think I was at, I've seen all this before,
Yeah.
about 2-3 years ago,
could be.
on a Saturday morning.
I lose track. I typically do, well, during COVID, it's down, but I typically do 2 or 3 lectures a week and have been for 50 years. So,
Yeah, I remember it's a Saturday morning here, about 2-3 years ago.
could that have been one of those second Saturday programs?
Possibly, yes.
Yeah, I think I did do.
I remember talking about fake poles. I remember this stage
Yep.
set up there with the pouring off the
Yeah,
concrete and
yep.
a couple other things.
It's a neat building, it really is.
Yeah, I hope it becomes an art gallery. But
Yep. Now I'm going back out, I'm doing these same things outside. After we finish here, if any of you would like, I can show you where some of these things are in the building and out on the other side. So if we finish up and you'd like to see, I'll just give you a 2-minute tour of where they are.
So this is the 1860 map of York County. And,
Shows the home of the market house,
well,
shows the Lutheran cemetery and what is it?
there's Presbyterian Church right there. The cemetery should be right up there.
There isn't one map that marks it, it's not that one. Either on Princess Street, it shows the Lutheran cemetery, the other cemetery.
Anyone else going?
Yes.
You
You guys want to share?
I will, yes.
Go ahead.
I saw that
You're on.
box. One more for the left side.
Yeah, I'll turn it.
Thank you. This is, I guess my first meeting, as I said, so I'm a novice, at this. But I'll just give, someone asked, what I was researching. It would be my introduction. I said a lot of things. So I don't have a presentation because I'm just starting my research, but I'll let you know a little bit of some of the things that I'm looking into. So one, I've always been interested in history, but I had the good fortune to live in Seven Valleys for 17 years in a house right on Main Street that I traced back to 1804. And it was still there. It's right on the corner across from the school. It's now a church. But the front had an old bell pull for Dr. Weiser. And beautiful chandeliers inside that were with cross arms that I'm sure is quite dated, but it is documented in the books Das Liebenthal. And I believe that Dr. Weiser, who had been prominent at the time in the town, also had connections to Dr. Holtzapfel in Leaders Heights, which was the first to use oxygen to treat pneumonia. So it's really just fascinating to have lived in that home. 3 stairways the whole way to the top. It's beautiful. So that's a little bit of, what had me interested in history always. Then a few years ago, my grandmother passed. And as part of clearing her estate, I came into possession of, I'm not going to get it out up here, but we could look at it on the side because it's very fragile. But it is a Victorian album the size of this box, velvet covered and full of photographs. So that was just very interesting and trying to identify the individuals and my history and heritage. And one of the photographs in here is of my 4th great grandfather, who was Michael Brodbeck, who was documented in the newspaper clippings as the oldest Civil War veteran of York County, was my 4th great grandfather. So there's just a lot more in that box of photographs that I'm continuing to research.
Are they identified?
There are 2 or 3 pictures that are, yes, identified. The rest are not, but the pictures, as I've learned, are often laid out, would have been in the foyer when you came into the home, similar to the home I lived in. Would have been in the foyer, and that it was often as family family grouping. So my daughter and I took photographs of everything as it's laid out so that we didn't have to page through it as much, and we can just look from the computer. But a few of them are identified, but I have the pictures of the family. So that I'm researching that box. On my mother's side, her grandmother, my great grandmother, only spoke Hungarian. And so everything back in that lineage really is Hungary, Slovakia. And when I did some initial ancestry work, and it took me not quickly, but rather quickly and closely to the Holocaust. And I honestly stopped because I wanted to make sure that I was getting it right. And that's where I backtracked and started working with Lisa Wolfson. she's gonna speak at one of your events. So she started helping me and I've been looking there, but because the family was so secretive in their movements, it's very difficult to find records. So that's an area where I am trying to research more on that lineage back to Hungary. Just a couple of weeks ago, my husband came home with a crate, a wooden crate. And he says, okay, my uncle's cleaning out, here's this wooden crate, here's some stuff. And I like to look at stuff, so I started going through the stuff. And in the stuff, we come to two things that I'm also now researching. And it was this crate was, the bags in it, which had photographs and clippings, and it was just titled Grandpap's Papers. So in Grandpap's Papers, in this crate is a scroll. And I'm gonna be a step away here, so I'm doing it carefully. This is all in German, which we've had translated, and is his 5th great grandmother's birth certificate from 1794. So just
Yeah, what's the name? I can't remember.
the name, well, it's baby Catherine.
Bring it closer.
You're welcome.
Wow.
Yes. It's very, it's in, you know, obviously calligraphy and German, so it's a little difficult to. So what's interesting about this too is not, you know, just to have, you know, something of this age in our family and it looks like this, but obviously I had not really worked on my husband's side of the ancestry family tree because he and others didn't have as many memories to kind of validate some of the things. It was a little more difficult for me to know I was on the right track. Well, I dug into it after this, and sure enough, I found baby Catherine in the tree as well. So we kind of know where she fits in and who her mother was, who was also referenced.
Where, do you know where the location of that birth was?
I do in the translation, I believe, yes.
Okay.
Is it York County or is it nothing?
No,
Burke
no,
County or something?
I'd have to look at, I have it actually on my, because my husband's cousin speaks German, and so he translated the best he could.
And what are some of the names that you're seeing on your husband's side or on your side? Last names, so
The last names, you're asking, I have like so many family trees in my mind at the moment. So on my side, the Hungarian side is Zarstas and Zarbas. And so that, there are several, one goes before that. This one, I said we'd have to look at, I have it already. I'm not ready to, when I do my presentation on what I solve any of these mysteries, I'll let you know. And the last thing that I found in Grandpap's papers was a document. My husband he always told me, well, he's from a farm family, a dairy farm in York Springs. We have cows at our place now, and he would always tell me that his family was associated with the Eisenhower farm in Gettysburg. Okay, sure, but nobody had any stories and nobody could really back it up. Well, in Grandpap's papers crate, and we can open this up and look at it. But this is a deed of John and Richard Penn transferring property to a Mr. Stewart who is in the Eisenhower when they dipped up the tracts of land at the time. And this is, yeah, this is 1800 is the date on this, but you can open up and it is their signatures and there is a raised seal. So it's original. So I'm researching that. And as I said, have found some of the documents with the battle, you know, Gettysburg and the Eisenhower farm, but we'll be doing more. So those are some of the things that have certainly been keeping me busy.
May I see that? This is.
Quick point.
Resolution for Secretary of the and for someone as a private.
Yeah.
Yes.
You want to work on it,
The park.
Spring Road,
We can read from here.
Adams County.
Go ahead.
So I'll make this short because we've run a little bit long, but excellent presentations, and I want to thank the board for all they do here. This is really, I think we're, as an organization, we're growing and doing good things, and I want to call out attention to Lynn Nelson and her new South Central Pennsylvania Genealogy website group,
Groups IO.
what?
Groups IO.
Right, Groups IO. I want to highly recommend that we participate with that, and I've done that. And we have, I have a book here that I brought for a member that didn't show up, but I think through that we can share a lot. And we can tap into the knowledge that is here in this room and beyond. But what I wanted to present or tell is an ancestral mathematics here. In order to be born, you needed 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents, 16 second great-grandparents, 32 third great-grandparents, 64 fourth great-grandparents, 128 fifth great-grandparents, 256 sixth great-grandparents, 512 seventh great-grandparents, 1,024 eighth great-grandparents, and 2,048 ninth great-grandparents. For you to be born today, from 12 previous generations, you needed a total of 4,094 ancestors over the last 400 years. Think for a moment. How many struggles? How many battles? How many difficulties? How much sadness? How much happiness? How many love stories? How many expressions of hope for the future did your ancestors have to undergo for you to exist in this present moment? Somewhat overwhelming. When I talk to family members about genealogy, I say it's never ending.
That's why it's called a rabbit hole.
That is well said. And, but, you know, you can look at it 2 ways. You can look at it as overwhelming, or you can look at it in the way people have shared today with great things that you have found delving into history. So I think it's appropriate we end it in this way, just saying that that there's a lot of untapped out there yet. We'll not get to all of it, but we'll certainly make it a good effort.
Thank you. Well, on that note, we'll adjourn the meeting, but you're welcome to, yes.
I would love to have some evidence of what went on today for the newsletter. So for instance, the letter that you, or the newspaper article, if I could, I'd love to put that in, and I don't know if you would be willing to let me take the pictures.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming. We'll see you next month. Then it's fine.
Okay.